All right, so another deep dive powered by, the amazing Notebook LM from Google. I'm Willio, and with me, as always, is...
Hey everybody, Maria here, ready to break down Real Madrid taking down Girona 2-0.
Yeah, this one had a lot riding on it. I mean, Real Madrid really needed to turn things around after, that three-game winless streak they had, and close that gap with Barcelona at the top of the Liga.
For sure, for sure. Like you could just feel it, at the Bernabeu. The tension was there. The fans, they knew this was it. This was a must win if Real Madrid even wanted to have a chance at the title.
Absolutely. So let's get into Ancelotti's starting lineup. Four changes, including a pretty significant absence in the midfield.
Yeah, it was interesting to see, with Bellingham being suspended, Ancelotti had to make some changes. And so Brahim Diaz got the start in his place and Rodrigo shifted positions just slightly. And it makes you think, like, did Bellingham being out, did that impact Real Madrid's, dominance, especially in that first half?
Well, and Girona wasn't exactly coming into this match in top form either.
Either.
I mean, they had lost four of their last five, and they were having their own, midfield problems with, Yangel Herrera suspended.
Oh, yeah. And those defensive errors that have been just kind of plaguing Girona lately. Well, Real Madrid was more than happy to
That's
capitalize on those vulnerabilities.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go back to that first half for a minute. Real Madrid, tons of possession early on, but it just felt like they were struggling to find a way through Girona's defense.
Yeah, Girona seemed to be content just to absorb the pressure and hope to catch Real Madrid on the counter. That's a risky strategy, though, against a team like Real Madrid with all that offensive firepower.
And then, I mean, out of nowhere, Luka Modrić, what a goal. Unbelievable.
Classic Modric. Chesting down the clearance and then volleying it top corner. Just, I mean, from way outside the box. What do you think?
Yeah,
I mean, do you think, he still got it at his age, or was that just a lucky strike?
I think it's a little bit of both, honestly. I mean, Modrić definitely, you know, turned back the clock with that one, but at the same time, I mean, sometimes you just need a little bit of magic to break down a defense like that, and this was definitely a turning point.
Oh, for sure. It was a turning point. It lit a fire under Real Madrid's attack, I think. You could just see, they found another gear after that goal.
They did.
Yeah.
Before we get into the second half, I want to touch on Mbappe's performance for a second. I mean, he didn't score in the first half, but you couldn't miss him out there.
He was a menace. Oh my gosh. I mean, Girona's defenders were practically, attached to him, which honestly, that opened up some space for Vinícius and Rodrigo. You could argue that Mbappe's, like, his influence goes way beyond just goals and assists. I mean, he's just a nightmare for other teams to deal with.
He is. He's always a step ahead.
Yeah.
But for all that dominance, Real Madrid only had a one-goal lead at halftime.
Yeah, and Girona, even though they were, under pressure most of the half, they had some moments, with their passing and their build-up play. They couldn't quite create, any really clear chances.
Right. Do you think they were maybe a little too cautious in that first half?
Right.
Or was their defensive approach, I mean, was that the best way to handle Real Madrid's attack?
That's a tough one. I mean, they had to be organized defensively
Yeah.
to handle Real Madrid's attacking trio, but I don't know, maybe they could have been a bit more aggressive, when they had the ball. It's tough. It's a tough balance to strike against a team like Real Madrid.
It is. So let's get into that second half. Real Madrid came out, it felt like, with a different energy.
Oh yeah. They were determined to, put the game away. And Girona, I mean, they fought hard, but it always felt like Real Madrid had that extra gear.
They did. That second goal from Vinícius almost felt, I don't know, like he was going to happen no matter what.
It was a beautiful goal,
Yeah.
and Mbappe's assist was just chef's kiss. But honestly, what really impressed me was how well Real Madrid's attackers were moving off the ball. They were constantly switching positions, and it just creates so much chaos for the other team's defense.
Yeah.
We've seen them do that all season.
We have. Speaking of Ancelotti, what did you make of his his tactical decisions in this match? Anything that jumped out at you?
Well, one thing that was interesting was that he kept Tchouaméni at center back, even though, presumably Rudiger was back and healthy after his injury. And it makes you wonder if Ancelotti sees that as a long-term solution.
Yeah, it's an interesting trend. We're seeing it more and more. teams using midfielders and central defense maybe to, improve their ball-playing ability from the back.
Right, exactly. And with Tchouaméni, he's so athletic. He's got that ability to read the game. He could be a real weapon in that role. It gives Real Madrid a lot of flexibility. They can switch formations more easily.
All right, well, let's take a quick pause here. We'll be right back to break down this Real Madrid victory even more.
If you're enjoying the episode, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a breakdown. And don't just listen, drop a comment with your thoughts on the match and share this episode with your fellow football fans.
Okay, so we're back, and we're breaking down Real Madrid's pretty decisive 2-0 win over Girona.
Yeah, a win that could be like a real turning point in their season,
Yeah, it could be. Let's talk about what this result means, for both teams. I mean, Real Madrid, they're level on points with Barcelona now at the top of the table.
True, but they're still behind technically, right? Because of the head-to-head.
Right.
So every single match from here on out is basically a must-win for Real Madrid.
Yeah, but this win, it does feel like a statement, ending that winless streak and at home against a tough Girona side.
It definitely shows that, they're not out of it yet. And it makes you think, like, could this be the momentum they need to really challenge Barcelona?
Yeah.
To really push them.
It could be. You mentioned, Girona put up a fight. What did you think of their performance overall?
They had some good moments, especially with their passing, but in the end they didn't have that cutting edge to really break down Real Madrid's defense.
Yeah, and do you think they missed Herrera in the midfield?
Oh, 100%. I mean, he's so important for them, defensively and going forward. And without him, they they really struggled to control the tempo of the match.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that about the tempo.
Yeah.
It felt like Real Madrid really dictated the pace of the game.
Yeah.
Especially in that second half.
Yeah, I mean that's what championship teams do, right? They know when to press, when to sit back, when to just kind of keep possession, and Girona, I don't know, they never really seem to find their rhythm.
Right. So let's go back to Ancelotti's tactics for a second. We talked about him playing Tchouaméni at center back. Anything else about his approach to this game that stood out to you?
I was really impressed with how fluid their attack was. Like the movement from Vinícius and Rodrigo and Mbappé. I mean, it was fantastic. They were constantly, interchanging positions, and it just made it so hard for Girona's defenders to keep up with them.
It did. It felt like, especially on that second goal, it felt like Girona's defense was just, always a step behind.
Yeah, that was like a perfect example of what Real Madrid can do when they're at their best.
Yeah.
Quick passing, intelligent movement, and then just boom, that clinical finish from Vinícius.
Yeah. So looking ahead, what does this win mean for Real Madrid's season? Do you think they can? Can they catch Barcelona? Can they win the title?
It's going to be tough. Barcelona's they're a great team, and they have that that little bit of an advantage in the standings. But if Real Madrid can, if they can play like this consistently, they're going to be right there at the end.
They will be. So what about Girona? Where do they go from here?
I think they're still in a decent spot in the table, but they've got to find some consistency, especially on the road. They've shown that they can hang with the best teams in LaLiga, but they need to start getting results against the teams around them in the table if they want to make a push for a European spot.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into this match, what are the big takeaways? What should our listeners be thinking about?
For Real Madrid, this win it's huge, right? It shows they can bounce back, they can win when the pressure's on. But the real question is, can they keep it up? Can they keep playing at this level? And for Girona, it's they've got the potential to be a really good team in this league, but they still have some work to do.
Yeah. This match, it was just one game in a long season. Both Real Madrid and Girona, they've got a lot of football left to play.
Yeah.
And who knows, who knows what's going to happen. This La Liga season it's wide open. It's going to be exciting.
Okay, so we're back, wrapping up our deep dive into this Real Madrid-Girona match.
Yeah, a match that, it really had it all. A wonder goal, some really impressive tactics from both sides, and of course, huge implications for this La Liga title race.
Absolutely. You mentioned before that Real Madrid's aging midfield could be a bit of a concern for them, in this title race. I mean, do you think this win over Girona, does that change your perspective at all? That's that's a good question. I mean, Modrić, what a performance, right? Definitely showed he can still be the difference maker. But he is getting up there in age, and so is Kroos.
Yeah. So
So
so you're saying, Real Madrid's title hopes, they might really depend on how Ancelotti manages their minutes throughout the rest of the season.
exactly, he's got to find that sweet spot. Relying on their experience, but also giving younger players like Camavinga and Valverde a chance to step up and make an impact.
Right, right. So what about Girona? What should we be, keeping an eye on as their season, progresses?
I'm really interested to see if they can fix those defensive issues. Those mistakes have cost them some valuable points this season. Going forward, they're solid.
Yeah.
But they got to be more solid at the back if they want to compete for a European spot.
So their defensive issues, is it more about, the
Yeah.
personnel, or is it, could be a tactical thing?
It's probably a little bit of both. They could definitely, benefit from adding another experienced defender, but they also need to be, more disciplined. In their shape and just, making better decisions defensively.
Yeah, and feels like, I don't know, across all of Europe, it feels like, teams they're putting more and more emphasis on, playing out from the back and having, defenders who are good with the ball at their feet.
Oh, for sure. And that's forcing teams like Girona to adapt if they want to stay competitive at the top level.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into this, this very exciting La Liga match. Any final thoughts before we sign off?
I just think, this La Liga season, it's going to be an amazing race. Barcelona, they're in the lead right now, but Real Madrid has shown they can challenge them. And who knows, maybe Girona, maybe they can surprise us and sneak into a European spot.
Yeah, maybe. Well, it's always great, breaking down these matches with you. I'm Julia.
And I'm Maria. See you all next time for another deep dive.